Alexandra Merz, just explain what went down in this deleted video from Ross Gerber about Tesla's stock.
His initial claims were, I want better communication for Tesla. And I think we can probably all agree on that one. I mean, there will be people, the all-in Tesla people will say everything is perfect anyway. But I think most of us can agree that we appreciate a little bit more active communication.
When it is actually really important, Tesla does respond. Better communication is appreciated, but at the same time, when misinformation spreads, we do get presented with a buying opportunity. And because I am accumulating more Tesla stock, I don't mind this extended buying opportunity. In the end, however, I think that Tesla stock price is not really affected long term. Although, if you do want the price to be a lot more stable in the short term, then I think a good PR department would probably make some difference. And many of us, I think, have a huge problem with software updates being called recalls. That, I don't know if a PR department would really fix that issue too much, because the media, as long as they are allowed to call it a recall, would still call it a recall, I think. To fix this recall issue, I think how recalls are done should be changed. If a vehicle only requires a software update that is over the air, I think that should not be called a recall. It should just be called a software update. And therefore, Tesla would not need to announce a recall if an issue can be fixed with a software update. But to make that change, perhaps, Tesla would actually need to lobby. It is not obvious to me that a PR department would fix this particular issue.
The second point was like, we need a full-time CEO. And I had actually a discussion on Herbert's channel directly with Ross on that, because I think that's just absolutely crazy. You can't pack genius in a 40-hour week. That's not how it works. On the one side, you have Elon, who is so much more efficient with his time. And on the other side, you have Tesla, who has grown so much, right? This is a company of 127,000 employees now, whether he is now at the door every morning checking that everybody has badged in. I mean, this is ridiculous.
I absolutely 100% agree with Alexandra on this one.
Third one is he wants to regulate the way Elon sells stock, push it into a 10.5b/1 schedule where it's all pre-announced. So what does that mean? That brings me actually back to one of the people that are up for re-election, Robin. She's doing that. She has a plan in place that every time she gets new shares or options and those vest into shares, they're immediately sold, so that there is no conflict of interest.
One reason why I think a 10b5-1 plan is a good idea for Elon Musk is because look at the last time Elon sold stock, around December 14th or so. What I want is focused Elon on Tesla and not on lawsuits. Looking at this, you can make an argument, and hopefully this does not actually happen, but you can make a legal case that perhaps Elon had some material insider information on December 14th that Tesla is going to miss the deliveries that were announced in the beginning of January, and then stock, of course, tanked. So even if Elon did not have any material information, this is still not really good, because if Elon spends time at court, he spends less time on Tesla. I am sure that Elon would win. However, all of the time that Elon wasted on this last trial, which he won and was found not guilty, all of this time he could have spent at Tesla or recovering from work and resting and having a good time, which would allow him to work more effectively, be more focused, take care of his health. All of that time went into this ridiculous trial now. I don't want that to be repeated.
Last Thursday, he had his monthly GK is his ETF, GK shareholder YouTube meetings. This is something he does monthly, where he comments on the market and the different holdings, and then takes in the later part questions from the audience. And I was watching that. I was in Vegas. I had time. I was watching it live, and I couldn't I listened to it and I said, I don't recognize Ross. I have spent hundreds of hours listening to Ross.
Yeah, I have listened to most of that video as well, and Ross did seem to come across a little bit differently than normal. For example, he was negative on full self-driving, whereas before he was quite positive about it.
And this was a different Ross. And I was like, oh, what is this? So I listened again a second time in the evening. And in the morning when I woke up, I just said, I have to listen to it again. And there it was already gone on YouTube. So Ross has deleted it. But it was still available.
Or has made it private. We're not really sure what it is, but it's not viewable. Yeah. It's no longer viewable by the public.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would say it's pretty much the same thing. And that was very weird.
But it was still available on Twitter
live stream, right?
So I could watch it. So I really watched it a lot of times.
Which is now also deleted, but it was deleted later, which was a little bit strange. I probably assume that maybe someone forgot to delete it from Twitter. Something got miscommunicated, but clearly it is now deleted as well, or removed or made private.
Because there was some stuff in there and then I addressed it and sent him an email and say, what's this now about? Actually, it wasn't even a tweet. It was only questions. I just felt something was completely different. But the fact that he made it unavailable probably means he understood that's what came over, and may have just been a bad day for him. And he just, went far off and then suddenly regretted because it just didn't come over. Sometimes you say stuff, but you write stuff that the next day you regret the way you've done it.
I would really like to hear directly from Ross why he deleted or made that video private. What's the reasoning? Maybe we are missing something. Maybe not. Either way, I think we should give Ross a fair chance to address that issue first before we make any serious conclusions.
So what really happened? So one thing is he was very critical on Tesla in the current state of affairs. Tesla is not worth more than $200. There really lots of stuff has to change. Blah, 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 blah.
I personally was not surprised at all when Ross said that Tesla stock is now fairly valued at about a little bit over $200, because he said that 3 weeks ago that Tesla right now should be at $200. He said that on Yahoo Finance. So this is not really anything different from what Ross has been saying. But when you compare that to a lot of other Tesla stock bulls, that is quite conservative. So maybe expectations were sort of readjusted there.
And didn't understand at all that the current price cuts were linked to the IRA. That it was, adapting to something that was just out there and you needed to make sure. I also have a personal opinion. I think this price cut applies to hardware 3 cars, and hardware 4 cars will have different prices and whatever. But the whole price cut thing, he took it very badly.
Yeah, Ross was not happy about the price cuts. But I think long term, actually, that is going to be a positive for Tesla, because that is preventing competitors from entering the market. If Tesla has huge profit margins, let's say 30%, 35% gross margins, that margin is our competitor's opportunity. And while temporarily Tesla would still make more money, perhaps, if we advertise and do all of those things that Ross wants to do, long term, we would have more competitors. Tesla's high margins are competitors' opportunity. But if Tesla scales tremendously, and Model Y will probably be the world's best-selling car very soon, once you have that sort of economies of scale, you will be able to produce that car for a lot cheaper. And if you cannot get to that scale, you will simply have a very difficult time competing with Tesla. So I like that Tesla has this price right now and is stimulating demand through lower pricing, because that eliminates a lot of the competition that we would have to fight later on.
And Cybertruck will come late, and it's just such a pain, and FSD doesn't work. And I mean, this is the guy who told me all the time, FSD in LA works perfectly. Alexandra, you're a chicken for not trying it, right? So I'm like, what is this? Now suddenly FSD doesn't work, the Cybertruck will never come, $200 is already a heavy price for Tesla and whatever. That didn't make sense. The second thing is, at one moment he said, So I'm running because I'm looking out for retail and institutional investors. And that was my, church bell ringing in my head. I was like, you're looking out for retail and institutional investors? And we'll probably get into that. That is a huge concern for me.
I agree. Before that video, I have never heard Ross even remotely mention or imply that he would be also trying to represent institutional investors. But institutional investors also hold a lot of Tesla stock, and I do understand why Ross would want to try to represent institutional investors as well, because that will give him a lot more votes, and now his chances of being elected are a lot higher. Currently, with Tesla stock being up so much in the last month and a half, I think a lot of retail Tesla stock investors are fine. I don't think they are angry anymore. I don't think they are upset. I don't think there's this terrible tension at the moment. So people are a lot less likely to vote for Ross now. Leo Cogburn on Twitter is not calling out Elon every day anymore. I mean, when did you see a video from me last time talking about Leo? Tesla stock has been doing fine, and all the noise, it calmed down.
Nobody needs to look out for institutional investors. Let's make that very clear. The BlackRocks, Vanguard, State Street, Fidelities of this world, they don't need anybody to hold their hands. So that phrase, and that's the first time I heard Ross say the word, I'm doing this for retail and institutional investors. This and institutional, that really triggered me. And then the last part in that video that really I didn't like was that he was really going into a very passionate short rant about how Elon being at the Super Bowl with Rupert Murdoch, that was just not the thing to do. His crowd and his target market is California, and how to piss off the California Democrats, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I was like, oof, where are we, right? I mean, you have your political opinions, I have mine, Elon has his, but we're not there to babysit Elon or tell Elon with whom he can hang out or whatever.
After watching that video that was deleted, it did seem that Ross was a little bit more political than normal, saying that, for example, there are potential buyers in California that would like to buy a Tesla, and now maybe they will not because Elon is hanging with so-and-so. And there is certainly some truth in that if Elon is representing a certain kind of idea that people that are very loud or very opposed to what Elon is trying to do, of course, they will not be happy with that.
And then I suddenly thought, what happened? What happened between the Ross from last week, which fair enough was passionate about getting on a board he would never get on, to somebody who suddenly seemed, and again, this is a video, he took off, so maybe he regrets this. So let's put my words in perspective. But during that 1.5 hours, he was very convinced that he would get on that board and he would change things. And I was like, ooh, something shifted. And then over and over, it was like, my friends talk to me, my clients talk to me. They say these things have to change. This is your California target audience. And I was like, I mean, come on. Tesla is selling, sure, in California, but everywhere else. And if we're getting now to the fact that you have to have a political agenda to buy a car, that's a world I don't want to live in, right? I mean, I'm not a California Democrat. I'm a California non-voter. I've never voted. I'm not American. But I still have 2 Teslas, which are my number 3 and 4. Exactly. Good. Getting out of that stuff. Right? But it's something was off and something had changed. So I tried to understand it by questioning him on Twitter, and he confirmed on Twitter that yes, he needs to go and contact 67% of holders, and by contacting them, obviously he can't avoid institutionals, and that's not even how he said it. It was really like, yep, I'm going for retail and institutionals because I need to find 60, or I need to contact 67%. That's part of the deal.
Yeah, the way Ross said that in the deleted video, it didn't sound like he wanted to just let the institutions know that he's running for the Tesla board just because he has to let them know. It sounded a lot more like he also wants to represent institutional investors while at the same time representing retail Tesla stock investors as well.
And then one phrase that got me yesterday with Ross, yesterday or the day before, was like, you all crazies on YouTube and Twitter. Yeah. I mean, he didn't say noisemakers. Somebody else said noisemakers, but I think that's what he meant. In real life, IRL, I Googled it, in real life. Yep. In real life, nobody cares about you kids. We're just crazies about Elon and Tesla. In real life, people understand so much better, don't they? And so in real life, you don't matter, I matter, meaning Ross, okay? And I was like, okay, that is always the thing to trigger me. Don't tell me about in real life. I mean, Twitter may not be in real life for everybody, but I think it is for a huge number of retail shareholders, right?
Certainly true, although I try to stay away from Twitter as much as I can. I only go there just to check Tesla stock news, pretty much if there's anything happening in the Tesla community, like drama. That's a good place to go.
Can he remain fund manager of a fund that currently holds 10% of Tesla? His response to that in that same video was, yeah, but we're only buying and holding, which is not true. I'm following this fund now for nearly a year and a half, and sometimes they're going down, sometimes they're going up. So it's not, it's not only passive allocation.
I think many Tesla stock investors will find that to be new information. I think it would be appropriate for Ross to comment a little bit more on this issue. Perhaps there is something we are missing, perhaps not. Either way, I think a response would be appropriate.
So Dave Lee asked him already in December when he initially came out, would you resign from your Gerber Kawasaki position? And he never answered to that one. And again, that didn't bother me in December because I thought this whole thing was to grab Elon's attention with the good intention of bringing a couple of subjects to the table.
Yeah, to me, it seemed that maybe if Tesla stock does remain really low, maybe indeed Ross will end up running for the board. But if the stock recovers, which it did, I thought maybe probably not. And at one point, Ross said something maybe a few weeks ago, I even talked about that in a video, that made me think that likely Ross is not going to run for the board anymore. But something seems to have changed recently. And this is the Tesla stock buying opportunity explained by Elon Musk. My name is Matt Posius. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.